Hi, Mike Moore. Thank you for joining me today.
Hey, Christine, great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So tell me about yourself and Newport Partners.
Well, I'm a consulting engineer at Newport, been with the firm for about 15 years. I was a principal investigator of the study that we're here to talk about today. So I guess that's why I'm here. Regarding Newport, we're a building consulting firm with a focus on energy efficiency, building durability, health, sustainability. We work with public and private clients really to just improve the built environment, to try to make buildings better and the indoor environment better and healthier.
Excellent. And who's Broan NuTone? I understand they're a partner on this research.
Yeah, Broan NuTone is a long-term partner of ours, and they're a leading manufacturer of ventilation products for residential and light commercial spaces. And they make not only bathroom exhaust fans and whole house ventilation products, but also range hoods, ERVs, HRVs, those kind of things.
Great. So tell me about why Newport and Broan wanted to do this research. What was the issue you saw?
Well, the research was sponsored by the Department of Energy, and their objective is to ensure that they are providing energy efficient homes and showing builders pathways to get to better performance in homes. And one of their objectives is ensuring that you reduce heating and cooling energy use. And one of the best ways to do that is by tightening the building envelope. But if we're doing that, then we need to also ensure that we're still providing for healthy indoor environments and good IAQ. And so those pollutants that are generated inside the space need a way to get out. And we found that research has shown that occupants aren't generally using their hoods for various reasons. And we know that builders are getting really good at building tight homes. So that ventilation industry really just needs to keep pace with the builders out there by providing products that are going to respond and provide the IAQ that homeowners need.
Okay, so it's becoming more important, really.
Oh yeah, definitely. It's we see a lot of emphasis on this really since 2012 when building codes started requiring tighter building envelopes. Builders were doing it before then, of course, and that's why the building codes moved in that direction. And you've got leaders like DOE pushing that way as well. Energy Star homes, etc. But yeah, much tighter in the last decade.
And so why should we, I'm a consumer, we're all consumers, right? Why should we use range hoods?
That's a great question, and often the subject of debate because range hoods can be really loud and annoying sometimes when they're used. But the main point of using range hoods is to reduce your exposure to harmful pollutants, which can ultimately improve health outcomes based on epidemiological research. So the greatest barriers to using the range hoods that we've seen in actually getting to that improved indoor air quality and associated improvements of health are that the range hood's too noisy. We hear that often from consumers. And some consumers just believe that they're frankly just not needed. They don't perceive a reduction in indoor air quality or a bunch of pollutants being dumped into the space. We're not always good at identifying the pollutants in the space, but the smart range hood can address both those barriers by operating automatically and operating with class-leading, really quiet performance.
Fantastic. Sounds like it's really easy. Makes something that people could forget about really easy. So tell me a little bit more about the research. What were the steps of your research?
There are three basic components to the research. The first was just developing a prototype, a proof of concept that was transitioned to a prototype, basically answering the question of, can this be done? And once we got past that prototype development stage, we moved into a lab testing phase and then a field testing phase, and we had go and no-go gates at each of those phases based on meeting certain performance criteria that we set with DOE. And the project team consisted of Newport and Broan NuTone, of course, which we mentioned earlier. And overall, through those phases, we were able to develop a smart, quiet, responsive, energy efficient, and capture efficient hood that could reliably operate to remove cooking pollutant concentrations in both laboratory conditions and in field conditions, we found. The lab testing showed like a 65 to 95% basically reduction in pollutant concentrations when the hood operated automatically during scripted cooking scenarios versus when the hood was left in the off condition, which is pretty typical for consumers who often do not use their hoods. So we saw some really good response, really good results in terms of pollutant control with using the smart range hood in its auto setting.
And were there any surprises?
One for me was how often ovens are used. I'll use an oven to bake something every now and then, but in the 3 homes that we tested in the field site, which is obviously a small sample, but produced a lot of cooking events over the 4 weeks of monitoring, 2 weeks using the existing hood and then 2 weeks using the smart range hood, resulted in 150 cooking events across these 3 homes. And we saw the oven was used about 35% of the time. And we had initially designed the smart range hood prototype in concert with Broan to directly respond to cooktop events, but not directly respond to oven events. So we still had some response to oven events, but it wasn't really tuned for that. And because of that, we noticed that we were leaving a lot of pollutants in the kitchen and not exhausting everything that we could and improving the IAQ to the level that we could otherwise. And so we determined that, hey, this is something that we can fix in future versions, and certainly within reach with the existing technologies, just a control setting, really. Let's see, another thing that we thought about, or that we ran into, was that we had a lot of high polluting events that weren't necessarily associated with cooking, or that weren't associated with cooking at the cooktop or the oven. So you might have like a toaster oven event across the kitchen, or you might have just an unknown event that's producing a lot of particulate matter, PM 2.5, that can certainly have health effects. And so just considerations for tuning the smart range hood to respond to non-cooking events or cooking events that don't happen right at the cooktop and the oven are things that would be considered in future iterations.
So do you think that your research showed that smart range hoods can solve the barriers that you identified earlier?
Yeah, absolutely. There's this is of course a prototype and a first generation, and we're hoping that commercial variants will roll out in the near future. But really what it comes down to is we can't perceive the air quality in our homes frequently. You become accustomed to the space, and after a certain amount of time, your sensitivity to pollutants decreases. And then also some pollutants you just don't have a sensitivity to. They're just not really perceptible. But smart ventilation systems like the smart range hood can use sensors to actually monitor and kind of keep their guard up when you let yours down. And so that automatic operation can really reduce your exposure and safeguard your health when you might not be paying attention, or when you might think that, hey, it's not really needed.
So what's next?
Well, the next generation, we're hoping will incorporate some of the improvements that we talked about earlier, those surprises like responding to oven events and ancillary events outside of the kitchen. There are also a lot of good feedback from the participants in the study related to cycling of the hood and speed settings and quieter operation or opportunities for that. Of course, as we're looking to improve certain user experience components of the hood, like quieter operation, less frequent speed changes, we got to make sure that we're not sacrificing the IAQ performance, like directly responding to oven events and cooktop events, because cooking is really dynamic, right? Any one of us who cook out there knows that that you're adding things and then you're removing things and you're moving back and forth to the counter, to the refrigerator, and as you're doing this, you're pulling pollutants with you and introducing new ones. And so the hood really needs to have a dynamic response to a dynamic event, but at the same time, it needs to be acceptable to the occupants in the kitchen. So we're hoping that the next version can perform better in all these areas.
Excellent. And when do you expect the smart range hood to be on the market?
I think as early as 2021. I mean, that's our hope of things. Of course, with the current situation with the virus and and the monkey wrench that's thrown in all of our lives and processes. We're not sure exactly when this will be released, but the technology has definitely been demonstrated and integrated within existing production hoods, and we're hoping that 2021 could be the year.
And it seems like since we're spending so much time in our homes, it might be needed, sooner now that we're in this environment, and who knows how long it'll last.
Right, the sourdough revolution and everything else, that's happening has people focused on things that and having more time for things they didn't have before. So it's just
Right.
cooking, and then of course being in this indoor environment for more of the day. It really emphasizes the importance of ventilation on controlling, our indoor air quality and its effect on our health.
And do you have one thought you want to leave us on?
Yes. So hoods work best when you turn them on. If you don't have a smart range hood yet, make sure you're running your range hood when you're cooking, and you're going to see great reductions in your pollutant concentration levels, provided that your range hood is ducted to the outside too. So that's also very important. But turn your range hood on and enjoy your cooking.
Thank you very much, Mike. I appreciate your time. This is Christine Barber. Be good to yourself. Have a great
Thanks,
day
Christine.
and keep innovating.
Appreciate it. Take care.